I'm Ian.
I'm Fernando.
And we're freerunners.
Why can't we just go up to where we want to? Why can't we climb that wall? Or why can't we flip off this? Or jump down the stairs this way and that way?
A lot of the times when I'm doing something new, I feel that little sense of fear. And the way I get over my fear is by knowing what I can do, what I'm capable of.
Freerunning is more of a general American term, because if you go to anywhere in Europe, UK, anywhere over there, it's parkour. Parkour is efficiency. It's from point A to point B. I have to get to that point as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Freerunning is more freedom of movement. I can do flips and tricks off objects and no set goal of destination, just of expressing my movement.
There's gonna be lots of people that always argue that parkour is still its own thing, freerunning its own thing. But at the same time, I mean, like, the more you argue about the definitions, I don't know, I think freedom of movement is freedom.
The basic flips in freerunning would be the back flip, the front flip, the side flip, and the wall flip. Back flip, everyone is generally going to be sticking with that one first. And a lot of people think, oh, let's just throw their head back and just go rotate, but it's much more complex than that.
Mechanically, I think the back flip is the easiest of the four flips we were talking about. Jumping straight up and then pulling your shoulders past your ears is all it really takes. And just spot the ground on your way out.
Front flip is another one of the basic flips in freerunning. And a lot of people have a dangerous thing where they put their knees together and they land and they jam their face up with their knees. So you gotta make sure you set high enough, rotate fast enough, and you can open up to land on your feet properly.
As far as a wall flip goes, a lot of people think you might need to have a really good back tech to do a wall flip, but you can actually get away with doing a wall flip because it's physically easier for a lot of people because the wall helps you finish your rotation. The side flip is a little bit weirder for most people because it's not really going off. Well, let me rethink that.
Take your time.
No, you take your time. Don't talk to me like that. I guess the side flip is the one that most people have trouble with because of just how you rotate. You're supposed to kind of rotate hips over your shoulders as if you're kind of doing a roll across something that's really high. But the thing I like about the side flip is you get to spot the ground the whole time, whereas the back tuck, you have that blind spot moment where right when you're taking off, you can't really see anything. And with a front flip, sometimes right when you're landing, you have a little bit of a blind spot. With the side flip, you don't have that at all. And that's why I prefer the side flip over most of my flips in most conditions.
My name's Keith Crenshaw. I started freerunning when I was about 18 years old. Started off just wanting to learn how to do a backflip when I was playing soccer, and it just kind of progressed from there. I started learning more and more moves. Then I just started to do it as a hobby and then more of a passion, and then it became something that was part of my life.
I don't really have any movement background. I did a small amount of wrestling when I was in my freshman year in high school, and that was it. Other than that, nothing else really to speak of that helps me in my movement or anything. I just saw parkour, and when I started getting into it, I just did what felt good.
My background is Taekwondo and track and field. I've been doing Taekwondo since I was 4 years old and track and field since I was 12 years old. And putting those two together has made a really great combination for freerunning and parkour. Because with Taekwondo, I did a lot of kicking and jumping around, and then track and field was a lot of running and jumping around. And you just add those together, and it made me a great athlete in freerunning. Places I like to freerun are just all over the valley. Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, Tempe, Glendale, Peoria.
Where there's a lot of different areas with grass and concrete, a lot of different angles, and a little bit more contemporary architecture, and with more of a city-type landscape.
There are some spots where you have local authorities or security guards that hassle you to move around.
Okay, no problem, sorry about that.
But other times they're kind of nice and just like, you know, you guys have 10 more minutes of here and then you guys can move on.
My favorite move, that's a hard question to answer. Ooh! I mean, there's moves that I do a lot because I feel comfortable with them, and then there's moves that I love to see. Right now, I think my favorite one to see and just like visualize is the pop snafu swipe. I think is a really cool move. It looks great. But as far as stuff that I do a lot, I think I have a tendency to do a lot of strides, plyos, precisions, because of how it makes me feel and how I feel when I do those moves. This particular set of strides that I'm going to do, I think kind of embodies a little bit more of the type of training most athletes go through, where it's not really dangerous or anything, but you know, it's technically difficult. I mean, you're taking no momentum and you're creating momentum from nothing, and you're doing a lot of step-ups and everything, so that kind of stuff is the stuff I prefer to do when I'm training by myself or with friends on a regular day. Not every day is big, huge cat leaps or big, huge front flips over stuff or something like that. So a lot of the stuff is just technical footwork like this, I think.
My favorite move to do in parkour is a very simple move. It's the Webster. It's maybe simple, but I like the fact that you can change the technique of it and make it look different in so many different ways. So it's a very versatile move, and it's very easy to do.
Alright, well, recently this is my favorite move. It's a full twisting dive roll to front flip, all in midair. Not really a short name for it, but alright, that's what it is.
To be honest, most of the time, I mean, there's always something that boils up a little bit, whether it's a little bit of fear or a lot. Oh, so easy now! And whenever I take those tricks or moves out of a box, I've made sure I've trained it a lot and everything, and I just, even if it's a very scary situation, I basically just trust the numbers, trust the training, and trust myself.
About a year ago, I was doing a basic move, a Kong, and clipped both my feet when going over, and the drop on that was 10-foot drop, and I went head first into concrete and got 40 stitches right in my eyebrow right there.
Seriously hurt. Yes, I have, and funny thing about those is I get seriously hurt in gyms. In the gym you can perform new things and throw stuff out, and that's when I usually get really hurt. I've ruptured my bursa on my left knee twice in less than a year, and then a couple of years following that I broke both bones in my forearm at a gym in California, and that was just being unprepared and not warmed up. So there's a life lesson right there. When I'm outside I don't get seriously hurt because again, everything is calculated and strategized. Just like bruised heel or rolled ankle, stubbed toe, but nothing too serious to like stop the day of training. Train.
I cannot believe all the noise.
Train. First it was planes, now it's trains,
and
automobiles.
motorcycles.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. Where's John Candy?
All right, say that last part one more time.
Okay, but it's a plane coming. Do you want me to say it as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't win!
One of the unexpected advantages of parkour is that it teaches you how to overcome your obstacles in life and in freerunning parkour itself. I would like to become a doctor one day. That'd be a great experience. It's something I'm really driving for. So I didn't expect that it would help me in my dyslexia. I have had dyslexia since I was a child, and it's always held me back in school, and my reading's always been about 3 years behind. And with dyslexia itself, you have to learn how to kind of overcome the obstacle of not being able to read the words correctly. So you have to figure out different ways around it. Parkour helped with that in the fact that it made me open my mind up to even more options. And ever since I started doing parkour, my grades in school have all increased, my reading's gone faster, all because I've kind of adapted and been able to learn a different way of actually handling school and reading.
Freerunning breaks away from the normal, and it gives you a sense of abnormality. It's not normal, and it's great to feel that. It brings me a new perspective on life to see people see me doing something that they've never seen before, and it gives me a sense of joy knowing that I showed someone something that thought was impossible at some time. and it's just a great feeling to have. That's what it does for me.
Why do I free run? At this point, it's like I just do at this point. Like, there was a reason for it when I first started, but at this point, that reason doesn't exist anymore. I started because I wanted to do something with myself. I wanted to stay busy, but now it's what I do. There's no real question of why I do it. It's habit. It's part of me.
My name's Justin Taylor. I'm one of the owners and the head coach for Firestorm Freerunning and Acrobatics in Santa Ana, California. And as for how the whole thing came to be, for me it started when I was 6, and I took a couple of gymnastics classes and I immediately fell in love with the idea of being a ninja and flipping off things. I got my first job coaching when I was 14 at a real gymnastics gym, and then kind of just kept on coaching all throughout high school. And about 5 years ago, when I was finishing my engineering degree, was when I discovered parkour. And I realized I was gonna have to go out and work in a cubicle and get a real job, and I was not very excited for that. And I didn't really know where I was gonna go with my life, but I really enjoyed coaching, and I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. So I started a small program at the gymnastics gym I was working at. It went over really well, and the kids really seemed to enjoy it. Eventually, Steve came in, and he had a business background, and from there we were able to put everything together. And over the course of 2.5 years, we finally got the funding together and all the permits and everything necessary, and we opened up this place.
My name is Steve Nguyen. I'm one of the owners of Firestorm Freerunning and Acrobatics. The way I got into parkour and freerunning and opening up a gym was when I was a kid. I did a lot of martial arts growing up, watching Power Rangers. And in college, I was a pre-med student, and right at the end of college, I realized I didn't want to do medicine. So in the journey of finding myself again, I started up a business with my older brother, and 5 years after that, I found Justin Taylor, and he wanted to eventually move up to owning his own gym.
Like in any kind of sport, like if you play football, sooner or later the big person is going to tackle you. In parkour and freerunning, you know, just like in anything else, accidents do happen, and sometimes you have injuries and you take them in stride and you learn from them. The biggest one that I've ever had was 14 months ago. For those of you that speak the language, I was doing a cache over an 8-foot gap, basically a really big vault, and when I came out, I went split step into a round off layout double full, which is a gymnastics tumbling pass. And I landed at a really bad angle, and I snapped both of my ankles, and I severed completely in half both of my Achilles tendons. So that landed me with 3 leg surgeries, 3 months of laying in a bed with a cast on each leg, the entire time I was in a wheelchair, and then about a month and a half of crutches, and then about 6 months of physical therapy before I could actually walk like a normal human being again. We started the project of trying to start this gym about a year and a half before the accident happened. And we were just getting to the point where we were getting our funding and able to start looking for any kind of building where we could build the gym and get all the appropriate permits. And then this happened, and we were really worried that it would stop the entire project, but we found, you know, ways to work through it. The entire time I was laying in bed, I was on the computer doing paperwork, and then the first 4 or 5 places that we went to visit, it was really funny when we'd show up because we'd get there, we'd meet the agent, the listing agent for the place. I would, get lifted out of my chair by Steve and put in my wheelchair, and then we'd roll up, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, this is different." And they'd be like, "Nice to meet you." And they'd be like, "So what are you here for?" They're like, "Oh, we teach parkour and freerunning." And they'd look at me in the wheelchair and they'd look really confused, and they'd be like, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm the coach." So one of the things I really like about these type of gyms and these types of groups is that it brings in people from all different types of backgrounds. So we get some people that come in, they just have seen YouTube videos or they've seen things in the movies and they're just like, "That looks cool, I'm interested in learning that," and they have absolutely no background at all. Sometimes we get people from just about any sport you can think of. Gymnasts and martial artists make the transition very well because both of those sports have a lot of understanding of your body and your environment and how, when you act, how things react to you and how your body reacts to different movements. We get aerialists, we get circus people, A couple weeks ago we had a unicyclist come in here. We get people that do magic. I mean, you get a little bit of everything, people that kind of come together because they just like doing things that move and are different and trying to find new ways to break boundaries and stuff.
We have nerds, we have jocks, we have 35-year-old dads, we have 42-year-old moms, we have 40-year-old little girls.
I like free coming because I like it. I like free run because I get to learn flips and other cool things.
I hope to learn a lot more in free running and parkour so then I could maybe be like a world champion or something.
We have a great mix of absolutely safe and very dangerous here. And that's what we want to make sure that everyone is exposed to, because this is certainly a sport that you can get hurt in. But what we train and what we practice, and the most importantly what we teach, is safety. The way I got into it was I'm actually a martial artist. These are fire chucks. They're one of my favorite tools to play with. I'm also a fire performer as well. Now that facilities are starting to pop up all over the place, you now have places where you can learn it safely, so that way you can express yourself elsewhere.
Hello, camera. You're gonna see me in some short shorts in just a second. I'm Richard. Everybody calls me Free Love. I work here at Firestorm. I'm one of the coaches, and I love this gym. I was here when we first bought the building, and we built it from the ground up and designed everything that's in it and rolled everything out, everything that you see here before you. When I was offered a position to coach, I took it right away, and I didn't know how it would do, having all of these kids look up to me and like asking me these questions and expecting me to have the answers. And after practicing and training for years and having to, teach my friends and train with them, I knew the questions, I had the answers, so it was really easy. And being able to inform these kids and teach them and work with them is what I really like about being a coach, because I know that they're not just at home playing video games, they're not just sitting on a couch somewhere like vegetating, watching TV. They're up, they're out, they're active, they're climbing, they're running, they're jumping, they're doing what kids should be doing.
I'm Sterling Seven Holloway, and I coach parkour, freerunning, and tricking here at Firestorm Freerunning and Acrobatics. Since I was a little kid, I'd seen Jackie Chan, and he was one of the first impressive things I'd ever seen, and so I always studied as much as I could on Chinese martial arts, but could never really afford lessons, so a lot of it was research I could do on my own, or read, or find friends who had trained, or anything like that. And a lot of this changed when I got into high school, and I met my best friend, Johnny Nguyen. He started taking me to gymnastics gyms, and he'd been doing Taekwondo his whole life since he was about 4 years old. So he introduced me to actually how to train martial arts and how to actually be able to practice all of these things. And I fell in love with it. It actually allowed me to do what I wanted to do with my body. I personally feel that training all of these different movements, parkour, freerunning, tricking, dance even, I don't dance, but all of it is a big family. And it allows us to use our body to the fullest potential, or the maximum potential that we can actually get out of it, because the human body is capable of so much. Every single person who has an able body can do so many things with it that they don't even realize. And so if you're able to expose that and bring it out of yourself, that's just a great thing. And that's what I really enjoy about it. And that's why I love coaching. That's why I love teaching it to people.
It's an interesting question, what are your hopes and dreams? Because, when I was younger, it was something very different than what it is now. And I'm sure as I get older, it'll continue to change. But at this point in time, I've realized that one of the things that brings me the most amount of joy and is one of the most unique and best things about my life is when somebody walks through the door and says, this is really cool, but I could never do this, or I have this limitation and that's why I can't do this kind of thing. And when you can actually show somebody that they're not only can they do what they think they can't do, but they can do so much more and they're so much more physically capable than they think they are, it's a really unique thing. And for me, my goal really is to try piece by piece to change the way that people think of themselves and what they're capable of doing and how they interact with the world around them.
not just some crazy person, that I actually know what I'm doing. So I guess you could say that my dream is that it would be recognized, that people would recognize that I know what I'm doing, that they recognize those movements and they see it as more than just, you know, some kid climbing on something. It's him not doing drugs, it's him not being a part of a gang, it's him not, you know, whatever it is, that it's an outlet and it's a hobby, and for some people it's taken like as a serious discipline and more than just this personal art form. And I want people to understand that and know that.
My name is Camilo Brokaw. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been practicing parkour and freerunning I actually just hit my 8-year mark. I practice a style that's really categorized by a traditional parkour aesthetic. I focus on powerful, efficient movement kind of as my base, but I've really kind of tended towards over the years incorporating a lot of dance, a lot of other movement arts, acrobatics into my personal style.
And I'm Kenny, and I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico as well. I don't have a particular style. It's just I try to look for what I know I need to work on to generate just a broader aspect of my skills. Usually, it really depends on what I see people doing as well. If I see videos and it seems like a lot of people are really focusing on one thing, that's what I try to do.
I've taken a lot from different communities that I've worked with and the styles that I find prevalent in those communities. One of the ways I get to pick up those styles are large parkour gatherings.
When I go to like a parkour jam is usually where I start getting better, because it's nice to see how other people have expanded their skills, their knowledge, and I like to listen, get another aspect on a new trick.
Jams are something I think really sets the parkour community apart. It's a way where we're able to, in a really non-competitive sort of manner, get as many different people as possible into one place and tie the community together.
You get pros from time to time, you get new people starting out, and it's really just like a casual meetup. I go there and you get to see everyone else and how their skills just clash together. And usually that leads to like either an epic video or an epic friendship or any like bonds that'll end up forming. So for me, like a jam is just like the best way to get yourself out there, to expand yourself.
I think more so than in a lot of other movement communities even, that anywhere you go, nationally, internationally, there's this really welcoming feeling that I think is in a large part developed by the jams that we share.
I'm Zach Cox. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and really I like jams because the parkour community is just a lot different from what you see. People in parkour and freerunning, they're really accepting, and at jams it really just shows that, you know, you got people from all over, different backgrounds all over, and you get to interact and become part of their life.
Most of the jams, you find people are sleeping in backyards or on couches. Everyone kind of stuffs into an area to have as many people able to share space and share art as possible during that time. We're actually coming upon the jam season right now. One of the parkour jams I'm going to be going to is held every year in Colorado Springs by a good friend of mine, Justin Schaefer.
In 2011, we were going to have a jam where we were just having athletes come out and we were just going to house them. And shortly before that, my aunt passed away from breast cancer. So I said, well, I have all these amazing, talented people coming in already. We might as well put those gifts and talents to use. We had, 15, 20 guys come out. Now this year, it's our 3rd year and we're almost at 100.
I'm Nathaniel Hauserman. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. The very first jam that I went to was in Colorado Springs. Justin Schaefer put it together. It was a 6-hour drive from here to Colorado Springs. I stayed out there for a whole week, and it was one of the funnest weeks of my life.
part of the day. We spend about half of our time doing the normal jam activities. We're training, we're playing around, but then we also take that time and we focus it. We go out in groups and we actually try to raise money for breast cancer research.
So for every dollar that gets handed to us or donated, we'll do that many backflips collectively.
It was also really cool because we went to a bunch of different spots. We went like not only just around town, we also went to different places. Like we went to a rock climbing gym. It was really great, you know, so we saw rock climbers there and they got to teach us stuff and we taught them stuff.
We go to Acacia Park, downtown Manitou, downtown Colorado Springs.
There was a tricking competition and really fun to watch, and it was really inspiring too because I didn't really know what tricking was until then.
And sometimes it gets hot, so we go to the swimming pool.
I think jams mean a lot of different things for a lot of people.
For me personally, I was really like hot-headed when I started training. Like I kind of just did everything, thought I was invincible, and I wasn't disciplined. And once you meet more people, the guys who are better than you, because there is somebody who's always better than you, you kind of take a step back to get their opinion. So when it comes to jams, that's what I really go for, is just the fact to meet people.
For me, when we all get home and we're tired, those conversations that we have late at night where we're talking about what we do and why we do it and what we've been through to get there, I think that's for me personally, you know, the greatest value of jams, because you're not just going and meeting people through movement, you're really meeting people. My friend Jeremy from Oregon found free running at a time when he really needed something to kind of bring him back from pretty heavy depression.
I first stumbled across free running when I was in midway through high school, and I was getting bullied pretty bad. I was pretty skinny and unhealthy, just kind of sitting around and playing games, so that led to severe depression. And one day I was actually looking up ways of how to basically just off yourself, and I stumbled across a video, and I later found out that night that was David Bell, and he practices what's called parkour, and ever since then I pretty much just forgot about why I was even on the internet in the first place.
My name is Vinny Coriel. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Grand Junction, Colorado. When I was 3 weeks old, I was diagnosed with a disease called cystic fibrosis, which is a disease that affects your lungs and pancreas. And when I was growing up, doctors were kind of like, you know, try and keep active, but it's probably not going to work very well, and it was kind of a very difficult situation. I ended up in the hospital a lot when I was younger and throughout high school, and I ended up having to drop out of high school because I couldn't keep up with the work, and so it was kind of a rough situation. I had already started parkour, so I turned to parkour in that moment, and that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, and it's turned my health around.
Sorry.
We don't stop playing. We are always playing.
Because of parkour and free running and my traveling and all the people I met, that I was able to actually say that I was thankful to be alive.
It's a really powerful thing when you're able to experience these people's stories and connect to them and make these lasting friendships.
We give back to the community, and we give back and try to show that us as a person are willing to do something greater than ourselves.
Well, I'm glad I can help you guys out. That makes me feel good.
I dream of a world where parkour and free running are widely well known and accepted.
I think that parkour and free running is an amazing way to get yourself physically fit, and the perspective that you get when you begin practicing allows you to have a different idea and view of the world.
That's what free running is to me, the ability to take from anything, from different people, from different styles, different backgrounds, whatever, put it all together and create something completely new and completely independent of anything that's ever done before. It's really like an artistic, creative process, and I think that's what makes it so cool.
And that's why I love coaching. That's why I love teaching it to people. Because it's like I'm passing on this art form so that they can now express themselves and be able to pass it on to the next generation and generation so it can live on.